Welcome to this Windows and computer channel, and we're going to talk a little bit about something that's happening this week. It's Microsoft's Build Conference, and of course, yesterday was the first keynote with Satya Nadella, the CEO of Microsoft. And basically, we've learned a few things, and I wanted to kind of round up some of the most important announcements. I would guess for anybody that is using a computer or anything Microsoft across devices like Android, iOS, PCs on Windows, and Mac OS also. So we got Build Conference with, there's always a lot of interesting announcements there. And there are some really cool stuff happening with Microsoft. I mean, that company has been really changing a lot over the past years. And Microsoft today is not Microsoft from, Windows 95. It's completely diversified. Windows is now a very small chunk. And actually, it's interesting because we don't have a lot of news about Windows, and everybody was expecting that Windows would not get a lot of stuff this build because the announcements would be much more focused on other services and products. So the first thing that we've learned when we look at the Build conference, of course, Edge Chromium. We've talked about it, and I've shown you where to get the developer or Canary Edge Chromium Insiders if you want to try out the browser. Interesting because they are going to transform Edge Chromium into something that might actually have some Chrome users go to Edge Chromium. So, of course, because it will have the same Chromium engine, it means it will be compatible with everything Chrome is in general. But there's a promise that Satya Nadella gave yesterday of the Edge Chromium browser. And by the way, what you see here is Edge Chromium on a Mac. Promise of a lot of settings that will let you decide how websites will track you. And not just, some browsers do have, do not track and stuff like that. But they're moving a step further than that. They're moving into some settings where you'll have these little switches. And if you actually put them off, it will truly be off, meaning that tracking will just not work, and that's it. Now, of course, that means that some websites might be broken because when you stop tracking, sometimes websites, looking at that will say, well, if you're not, if you don't want to be tracked, then we don't want you on the site. But I think it's a first move where Microsoft wants to say, you know what, let's do a browser that promises that privacy will be important. And it's an interesting idea because it could actually bring a lot of users from other browsers to Chromium if they do it right. And if people can really show that, oh, look at that, it's true. It is keeping you more private. We learned already that, for example, when you go into incognito mode on Google Chrome, or if you go into privacy modes that are in different browsers, we've learned over the last year that it isn't as private as we hoped it could be. Where here in Edge Chromium, that incognito mode, that privacy mode, is going to really, really be private. It will not even track your keys that you type on your keyboard, where every other browser does that, even though you're in a private mode. So interesting stuff coming up here. And this browser will be available for all platforms. So that is kind of cool because it means that we're maybe going towards an interesting future with that. And Microsoft is probably positioning itself in, what, let's try to make privacy a number one concern. Well, FlyInDesign, we had not talked about, FlyInDesign in a long time. And FlyInDesign is, of course, part of Windows 10, and we see it here and there. And of course, there's a lot of controversy, a lot of criticism for the fact that, unfortunately, one of the biggest problems in Windows, for example, is the fact that it's not it's inconsistent. I mean, FlyInDesign touches here, dark mode there, dark mode not there, FlyInDesign not here. Different fonts for different places where everything should probably be the same. And they, of course, they addressed that criticism yesterday. They said, yeah, you're right, and we got to do better, and we got to make it better. But also, they kind of pushed FlyInDesign to a new level. Everything Microsoft will be FlyInDesign, and that's from apps that Microsoft will make, Windows, but also online websites. All of their websites will become FlyInDesign style websites. Office will have some FlyInDesign in it. Everything, everywhere, every platform. It's going to be on everywhere. So they're moving a step ahead on something we had not heard a lot of in the past year. So FlyInDesign, still something that they are working on. Cortana. What is happening with Cortana? Well, they are actually doing a little interesting thing with Cortana right now. What they are doing is they're trying to have Cortana change and behave differently from other assistants. Right now we got to issue some commands. You got to say okay, whatever, or hey, whatever, to activate. Now, they want to have Cortana using what they call conversational AI, or artificial intelligence. That means they want Cortana to interact more humanly than any other assistant that is on the market, and that it would integrate as a assistant that can react and understand human speech in the way humans interact with each other. So this is going to be interesting. There were no real big demonstrations, but what will that do? And also, what's interesting is by talking about Cortana, they kind of just said, you know what, Cortana is something here to stay, and we're still working on Cortana, and we're trying to find a place for Cortana in all of this. And that's, yeah, Cortana. I had something else I'm pretty sure I had to talk about. So FlyInDesign. Oh yeah, there was the terminal and also the Windows subsystem for Linux that is having major changes coming up. And so terminals will be kind of cuter, more sexy with colors, and instead of the black and white, terminal lines, and that's pretty much it. There'll be colors, there'll be tabbed terminal possibilities or windows. But it's interesting because they're going to actually push Windows subsystem for Linux, that is in Windows 10, to a new level. They're going to push it with a real Linux core, and that will make it even more powerful. It's getting a kind of a step closer to almost being a Linux distro almost within your Windows 10 operating system. So they're still working on that. So you see that they're pushing that Linux thing within Windows a step further. It's not going to be a distro, but it's going to be a much more powerful system than it is right now. We can almost call it, Windows subsystem for Linux version 2.0. So that's some of the stuff that we've learned at the Build conference. I think it's really interesting to see how things are moving along. And of course, as we get more news and we have more info, we'll try to post these little updates on what we learn about Build, about Windows, and about the Microsoft world. If you enjoy my videos, please subscribe, give us thumbs up. Thank you for watching.